The transmission started at 3:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Nobody knew how the aliens had hacked into every screen, every device, every communication system on Earth simultaneously. One moment, people were watching their regular programs, scrolling through social media, or working on their computers. The next moment, everything changed. Sarah Chen was in her office at the United Nations headquarters when her monitor flickered. The spreadsheet she had been working on vanished, replaced by an image that made her blood run cold. The creature on the screen stood 8 feet tall, covered in scales that shimmered like oil on water. Its 6 eyes, arranged in a circle around its head, blinked in sequence, and when it opened its mouth, rows of needle-sharp teeth gleamed. "Humans of Earth," the creature spoke. Its voice somehow translated into every language simultaneously. "I am Commander Zixetheta of the Krulorian Empire. You are witnessing the fate of those who resist us." The camera pulled back, revealing a scene that would haunt humanity forever. Thousands of beings stood in what looked like a massive arena. They weren't human, but they had families, children clutching parents, elderly supporting each other. Sarah recognized the fear in their eyes. It was universal. "These are the Altarians," Commander Zixetheta continued. "They refused our generous offer of servitude. Watch carefully, humans. This is your future if you choose unwisely." General Marcus Thompson was in the Pentagon Situation Room when the broadcast began. He immediately barked orders to trace the signal, but his tech team shook their heads. The transmission seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Sir, we can't block it," Lieutenant Rivera reported, her fingers flying over her keyboard. "It's not using any frequency we can jam. It's like it's being beamed directly into our devices." On the screen, the Altarians huddled together. Some tried to shield their young. Others stood defiantly, facing their fate with dignity. The arena was surrounded by Krulorian soldiers, each holding weapons that looked like crystalline spears. "The Altarians thought they could defend their world," Commander Zixetheta said. "They destroyed 12 of our ships before we subdued them. For this crime, they will serve as an example." In her living room in Tokyo, Kenji Yamamoto held his daughter Yuki close. She was only 7, too young to understand what was happening, but old enough to be scared. His wife May covered Yuki's eyes, but it was too late. Every screen in their apartment showed the same horrific scene. The commander raised one of its 4 arms. The soldiers around the arena lifted their weapons. Energy began to build at the tips of the crystalline spears, glowing with a sickly green light. "No," Kenji whispered. "Turn it off. Someone turn it off." But nobody could turn it off. Across the world, 7 billion humans watched helplessly as the energy weapons fired. The beams swept across the huddled masses of Altarians. They didn't simply kill, they disintegrated their victims slowly, painfully. The screams transmitted across space and into every human home were beyond description. In Moscow, President Volkov stood in his office, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles were white. His advisors surrounded him, all watching in stunned silence. One of them, Defense Minister Petrov, finally spoke. "Mr. President, we need to respond. We need to—" "Quiet," Volkov commanded. His eyes never left the screen. "Watch. Remember, we will make them pay for this." The slaughter continued for 30 minutes. The Krulorians were methodical, efficient. They started from the outside of the group and worked their way in, forcing families to watch each other die. Some Altarians tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. Some fought back with their bare hands, but they were cut down instantly. Dr. James McConnell, watching from his laboratory at MIT, found himself analyzing the broadcast even as tears ran down his face. The technology was far beyond anything Earth had. The weapons, the method of transmission, the ships visible in the background of the arena, all of it spoke of a civilization centuries ahead of humanity. "We can't fight them," his assistant, Dr. Liu, said quietly. Look at what they're capable of. We don't stand a chance." McConnell turned to her, his eyes hard. "No. We learn. We adapt. We find a way." The broadcast showed children trying to protect their parents, parents trying to protect their children. It showed the elderly standing tall, accepting their fate with grace. It showed young Altarians charging the soldiers with nothing but their courage, only to be vaporized mid-stride. In London, Prime Minister Williams watched with her cabinet. The room was silent except for the sounds from the screen. Foreign Secretary Davies was openly weeping. Defense Secretary Clark's face was a mask of controlled rage. "How many?" Williams asked quietly. "The counter on the screen shows over 2 million so far," Clark replied. "And climbing." The systematic extermination continued. Commander Zix Theta provided commentary, explaining how the Altarians had tried to negotiate, tried to offer resources, tried everything except complete submission. None of it had mattered. "The Krulorian Empire does not negotiate with lesser species," the commander said. "You exist to serve us, or you cease to exist. There is no third option." In Mumbai, Priya Sharma was watching with her engineering team. They had been working on a new satellite communication system. Now that seemed pointless. But as she watched, she noticed something. The other engineers saw it too. "The signal," she said suddenly. "It's quantum entangled. That's how they're broadcasting to everyone at once." "So?" one of her team members asked. "So if we can understand it, maybe we can use it," Priya replied. "Start recording everything, every bit of data. We're going to need it." The killing field grew larger. Bodies didn't remain. The energy weapons reduced them to atoms. But the Krulorians had positioned the survivors, so they had to stand in the ashes of their loved ones. The psychological torture was as deliberate as the physical destruction. In Sydney, Admiral Patricia Foster of the Royal Australian Navy watched with her senior staff. The conference room was thick with tension. Everyone wanted to do something, anything, but what could they do against an enemy among the stars? "Orders, Admiral?" her aide asked. Foster was quiet for a long moment. "Put the fleet on high alert. And start calling our allies. If they come for Earth, we need to be ready." The number on the screen passed 3 million dead. The Altarians were singing now, some sort of hymn or anthem. Their voices rose above the sound of the energy weapons, a final act of defiance. The Krulorians seemed annoyed by this and increased the pace of killing. Back at the UN, Sarah Chen watched world leaders appearing on secondary screens, all watching the same broadcast. Presidents, prime ministers, kings, and dictators, all united in their helplessness and growing fury. She saw something else, too: determination. Humanity was watching its potential future, and it was deciding that future was unacceptable. The singing grew louder even as the singers grew fewer. Children who had lost their parents took up the song. Parents who had lost their children sang through their tears. The last group of Altarians, maybe 1,000 souls, stood in the center of the arena, voices raised in unison. Commander Zix Theta seemed to take personal offense to this. It grabbed one of the crystalline spears itself and walked into the arena. The singing didn't stop. If anything, it grew stronger. "You see how they waste their final moments?" the commander said. "This is why they are extinct. They could have served the Empire for generations. Instead, they chose this." In Beijing, General Zhang of the People's Liberation Army turned to his staff. "I want every scientist, every engineer, every strategist in the country working on this. We need to understand their technology. We need to find their weaknesses. We need to be ready." Similar orders were being given in military installations around the world. Humanity might not be able to save the Altarians, but it could learn from their sacrifice. Every moment of the broadcast was being analyzed. Every piece of technology visible was being studied. The final 1,000 Altarians stood together, still singing. Commander Zixatheta raised the spear. The energy buildup was massive, designed to kill them all at once. The singing reached a crescendo. "Remember this, humans," the commander said. "In one rotation of your planet we will arrive. You will surrender unconditionally, or you will share the Altarians' fate. We are the Krulorian Empire. We are inevitable." The spear fired. The last Altarians vanished in a flash of green light. Their song cut off mid-note. The arena was empty except for the commander and its soldiers. But then something unexpected happened. From somewhere off-camera, a single voice began singing the Altarian anthem. Then another joined, and another. Soon, thousands of voices could be heard. The camera swung wildly, showing Krulorian civilians watching from the stands. They had learned the anthem and were singing it. Commander Zixatheta's 6 eyes blazed with fury. It screamed orders in its own language. Soldiers rushed into the stands, but the singing continued. The broadcast cut off abruptly. For a moment, Earth was silent. Every screen went dark. Then, slowly, they returned to normal. The news channels exploded with coverage. Social media went into overdrive. But in government buildings and military installations around the world, the real work was beginning. President Martinez of the United States addressed his nation within an hour. His words were echoed by leaders worldwide. "We have witnessed an atrocity beyond comprehension. We have seen what awaits us if we fail. But we have also seen courage, we have seen defiance, and we have seen that even the Krulorian Empire's own people recognize evil when they see it." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "They gave us 1 day. We will use every second. We will not go quietly. We will not surrender. And if they come for us, they will learn that humanity does not yield." In her apartment, Sarah Chen's daughter asked, "Mommy, are the monsters coming for us?" Sarah held her close. "Yes, baby. But we're going to be ready for them. Across the world, in every nation, in every city, in every home, the same realization was dawning. The Krulorians had made a mistake. They had shown humanity exactly what would happen if it failed to resist. They had shown the price of surrender. And in doing so, they had united 7 billion humans in a single purpose. The countdown had begun. 24 hours until the Krulorian Empire arrived, 24 hours to prepare for war, 23 hours, 59 minutes until arrival. The world had never moved so fast. Within minutes of the broadcast ending, every major government activated their highest emergency protocols. The United Nations Security Council convened in an emergency session. For the first time in history, there were no arguments, no vetoes, no political games. There was only one agenda: survival. General Marcus Thompson stood before a room filled with the world's top military minds. The Pentagon had become the nerve center of Earth's defense, connected in real time with command centers in Moscow, Beijing, London, New Delhi, and dozens of other locations. "Ladies and gentlemen," Thompson began, "we have less than 24 hours to prepare for an enemy with technology that makes our most advanced weapons look like stone tools. But we have something they don't expect: human ingenuity and determination. Let's get to work." 22 hours until arrival. Dr. Priya Sharma hadn't left her computer screen. Her team in Mumbai had been joined virtually by scientists from around the world. The quantum entanglement signature from the alien broadcast was unlike anything in human science, but patterns were emerging. "Look at this," she said, highlighting a section of code. "The quantum signature has a resonance frequency. If we can match it, we might be able to disrupt their communications." Dr. James McConnell in MIT was simultaneously working on the energy weapons. The crystalline structure of their spears suggests they use some form of controlled particle acceleration. The green energy is probably excited plasma contained in a magnetic field. "Can we replicate it?" someone asked. "Not in 20 hours, McConnell replied, "but we might be able to disrupt it." 20 hours until arrival. In factories across the world, Production lines that had been making cars, electronics, and consumer goods were being rapidly retooled. In Detroit, the Ford assembly plant was now producing armor-piercing ammunition with tungsten cores. In Stuttgart, Mercedes-Benz engineers were converting their precision machinery to create shaped charges. Kenji Yamamoto had reported to his job at Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. As one of Japan's leading aerospace engineers, he was now part of a team working on something unprecedented, converting civilian aircraft into weapons platforms. The 747s have the payload capacity, he explained to his team. If we remove the passenger sections and reinforce the structure, we can mount missile systems. It won't be pretty, but it'll fly. 18 hours until arrival. The internet had become humanity's greatest weapon. Hackers from every nation, white hat, black hat, and everything in between, had formed an unprecedented alliance. Anonymous government cyber warfare units and bedroom coders worked together, sharing techniques and strategies. In her basement in Stockholm, Emma Lindqvist, known in hacker circles as Phantom, coordinated with a Chinese state hacker known only as Dragon. If their systems are networked, we can find a way in, she typed. Every system has a vulnerability. Their tech is centuries ahead, Dragon replied. So was Goliath, Emma shot back. We only need to find one stone. 16 hours until arrival. President Martinez stood in the White House Situation Room, connected to world leaders on secure channels. The conversation was remarkable for its brevity and unanimity. All nuclear weapons are being retargeted skyward, President Volkov confirmed. Our satellites are being repurposed as kinetic weapons, President Chen added. We can deorbit them on command. Prime Minister Williams spoke next. Every civilian ship is being armed. Every aircraft is being weaponized. If they want to take Earth, they'll have to take it inch by inch. 14 hours until arrival. The world's religious leaders had united in a way never seen before. From the Vatican to Mecca, from Hindu temples to Buddhist monasteries, prayers rose for humanity's survival. But it wasn't just prayer. Religious organizations opened their doors as shelters, distributed food, and provided comfort to the terrified. In Jerusalem, leaders of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam stood together at the Western Wall. Their message was simple. We are one human family. We stand together or we fall together. 12 hours until arrival. Sarah Chen hadn't slept. As a UN coordinator, she was managing the largest refugee movement in human history. Coastal cities were being evacuated inland. Underground shelters, some not used since the Cold War, were being reopened and stocked. We've moved 500 million people in 12 hours, her assistant reported. It's chaos, but controlled chaos. Keep them moving, Sarah replied. When the Krillorians arrive, I want as few civilian targets as possible. 10 hours until arrival. In secret facilities around the world, humanity's most desperate weapons were being prepared. Chemical weapons banned by international treaty were being loaded into missiles. Biological agents kept for research were being weaponized. Nuclear weapons were being modified for maximum electromagnetic pulse effect. Admiral Patricia Foster oversaw the deployment of the Pacific Fleet. Every submarine was loaded with nuclear torpedoes. Every surface ship bristled with missiles. Civilian cruise ships had been fitted with radar systems and missile launchers. If they want to land in the Pacific, they'll have to go through us, she told her captains. Make every shot count. 8 hours until arrival. The first surprise came from an unexpected source. The International Space Station reported contact, not with the Krillorians, but with another alien race. This is the Varian Collective, the message came through. We cannot intervene directly, but we can provide information. The Krillorians have a weakness. Their ships use harmonic shields. If you can match the frequency and invert it, you can disrupt their defenses. The information was immediately distributed to every science team on Earth. It was a slim hope, but it was hope. 6 hours until arrival. Factories worked at impossible speeds. The entire industrial might of Earth had been turned to war production. In the Ruhr Valley, German factories that had once armed the Wehrmacht now produced missiles at unprecedented rates. In the American Midwest, combine harvesters were being converted into armored vehicles. In China, entire cities had been turned into weapon production centers. Mei Yamamoto, like millions of other civilians, had volunteered at her local defense center. She was loading ammunition into magazines, her hands working automatically while her mind worried about her husband and daughter. "Will it be enough?" the woman next to her asked. May didn't stop working. "It has to be." 4 hours until arrival. The skies above Earth were filled with aircraft. Everything that could fly was in the air. Military jets, civilian airliners converted to bombers, even crop dusters loaded with chemical weapons. It was the largest aerial armada in human history. Colonel Jiang Wei led a squadron of Chinese J-20 fighters, flying in formation with American F-35s and Russian Su-57s. National markings had become irrelevant. They all bore the same symbol now, a blue Earth on a white background. "Remember," he told his pilots, "we're not fighting for countries anymore. We're fighting for our species." 2 hours until arrival. The preparations were as complete as they could be. 7 billion humans stood ready. Some held military weapons, others held hunting rifles. Still others held nothing but the determination to resist. Children were hidden in shelters. The elderly who chose to fight were given weapons. Every human who could fight was ready to fight. Dr. McConnell made a final broadcast to the scientific community. "We've done everything we can. The frequency disruptors are in place. The EMP weapons are ready. Our cyber warfare teams are prepared. Now we wait." 1 hour until arrival. General Thompson stood in the Pentagon War Room, watching displays showing the deployment of Earth's forces. It was pitifully inadequate against what they had seen of Krulorian technology, but it was everything humanity had. "Sir," an aide approached, "we're picking up gravitational anomalies at the edge of the solar system." "They're early," Thompson said. He activated the global communication system. "All forces, all personnel, the Krulorians have arrived. Humanity expects every person to do their duty. For Earth." The response came from 7 billion voices. "For Earth." 30 minutes until arrival. The gravitational anomalies resolved into ships. Not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands. The Krulorian fleet was massive. Each ship larger than any human had imagined. They moved through space with casual ease, their technology making a mockery of physics as humans understood it. But something else appeared on the sensors. Other ships, different designs, appearing from different vectors. The Varians had said they couldn't intervene directly, but they hadn't said others couldn't. Ships from a dozen different civilizations emerged from hyperspace. A new transmission reached Earth, this time from a creature that looked like living crystal. "Humans of Earth, we are the alliance of free worlds. We have all lost worlds to the Krulorians. We cannot save you, but we can ensure a fair fight. Their technology advantage will be reduced." Energy beams lanced out from the Alliance ships, not at the Krulorians, but at space itself. Reality seemed to ripple. And suddenly the Krulorian ships were moving slower, their shields flickering. 10 minutes until arrival. Commander Zixatheta appeared on Earth's screens again. Its 6 eyes blazed with fury. "You dare seek help? You dare resist? Your extinction will be even more painful than the Altarians." But this time, humanity answered. Every screen on Earth showed the same response, created by the collective efforts of Earth's media. It was a montage of human history. Our wars, yes, but also our peace. Our cruelty, but also our kindness. Our failures, but also our triumphs. And through it all, one message. We are humanity. We do not yield. 5 minutes until arrival. Sarah Chen held her daughter one last time before reporting to her emergency station. Around the world, similar scenes played out. Last embraces, final words of love, children secured in shelters. Humanity prepared to face its greatest test. In Moscow, President Volkov gave the order. All nuclear silos, prepare for launch on my command. In Washington, President Martinez echoed. All forces, weapons free. Protect Earth at all costs. 1 minute until arrival. The Krulorian ships entered Earth's atmosphere. They were met by everything humanity could throw at them. Nuclear explosions lit the sky. Kinetic satellites rained down like artificial meteors. Every gun, every missile, every weapon fired at once. The harmonic frequency disruptors activated, and Krulorian shields flickered and failed. Alliance interference had leveled the playing field just enough. Krulorian ships, expecting easy victory, suddenly found themselves in a real fight. Commander Zixa Theta's voice roared across the communications channels. "Impossible! You are primitives! You cannot resist the Empire!" General Thompson smiled grimly. "You showed us what happens if we surrender. Now let us show you what happens when humanity fights back." 0 hour. The battle for Earth had begun. The Krulorians had expected to face a terrified, divided planet ready to surrender. Instead, they faced 7 billion humans who had seen what surrender meant and chosen to fight. They faced a species that had turned its entire civilization into a weapon in just 24 hours. The Krulorians had made the classic mistake of any bully. They had shown their victim exactly how cruel they could be, thinking it would inspire fear. Instead, it had inspired something far more dangerous. It had inspired fury. And now, with alien allies reducing their technological advantage and human ingenuity, turning every resource into a weapon, the Krulorians were about to learn why humanity had survived every challenge in its history. Because when pushed to the brink, when faced with extinction, when shown exactly what defeat means, humanity doesn't break. It fights. And it wins. The sky above Earth burned with the fury of 1,000 suns. Nuclear explosions created artificial dawns across the globe as humanity's entire arsenal erupted against the Krulorian invasion fleet. The electromagnetic pulses from the detonations cascaded through the atmosphere, creating aurora displays that painted the heavens in sheets of green and gold. Commander Zixa Theta watched from the bridge of its flagship as the first wave of Krulorian assault ships hit the human defenses. What should have been a simple conquest was turning into chaos. The harmonic disruptors the humans had somehow developed were causing shield failures across the fleet. Ships that should have been invulnerable to primitive nuclear weapons were taking damage. "Impossible!" the commander snarled, its 6 eyes focusing on different displays. "They are using our own communication frequency against us. How did they learn this in one rotation?" The answer came in the form of a transmission from the Alliance ships holding position at the edge of the solar system. The crystalline being appeared on screen. "The humans learned from your broadcast, Krulorian. Every moment of your atrocity was analyzed. Every piece of technology visible was studied. You taught them how to fight you." Below, on Earth's surface, General Thompson coordinated the global defense from the Pentagon War Room. The holographic displays showed the battle in real time. Red dots representing Krulorian ships swarmed toward Earth, met by blue dots representing everything humanity could put in the sky. "Northern sector, focus fire on the lead destroyer," he commanded. "Southern Fleet, execute missile swarm pattern Delta. Don't let them establish a beachhead." In the skies above Europe, Colonel Hans Meller led his squadron of retrofitted Eurofighters against a Krulorian corvette. The alien ship was the size of a city block, its weapons capable of vaporizing entire squadrons, but its shields were flickering, disrupted by the harmonic frequency the scientists had discovered. "Remember the briefing," Muller told his pilots. Their shields cycle every 3.7 seconds. We hit them in the gaps. Follow my lead. The squadron dove as one, releasing their payloads in precisely timed intervals. Conventional missiles that should have been useless against alien shields found their marks. The corvette's hull erupted in explosions, its armor cracking under the concentrated assault. In the Pacific, Admiral Foster's fleet engaged Krulorian landing craft attempting to reach the ocean surface. The aliens had expected to land unopposed in the vast waters. Instead, they found every submarine in the Pacific Fleet waiting for them. Fire solution locked on targets 1 through 15, the submarine commander reported. Fire, Foster commanded. Nuclear torpedoes launched from dozens of submarines simultaneously. The ocean itself seemed to rise as the weapons detonated, creating tsunamis that reached 100 feet high. Krulorian landing craft, designed to enter water smoothly, were shattered by the pure kinetic force of the artificial tidal waves. But the Krulorians were learning too. Their second wave adapted, ships spreading out to avoid concentrated fire. Energy beams lanced down from orbit, vaporizing military installations and civilian centers alike. For every Krulorian ship destroyed, they seemed to kill thousands of humans. In New York, Sarah Chen watched from her emergency coordination center as Krulorian ground troops landed in Central Park. The aliens moved with inhuman speed, their crystalline weapons cutting through buildings like tissue paper. But they hadn't counted on the fury of New Yorkers defending their home. From every building, every window, every rooftop, gunfire erupted. Soldiers, police, civilians with hunting rifles, even criminals released and armed for the defense, all fired upon the invaders. The Krulorians' personal shields could stop bullets, but not the sheer volume of fire coming from every direction. They're bunching up, Sarah noticed. They're not used to urban warfare against a determined population. She was right. The Krulorians had conquered many worlds, but always through fear and superior firepower. They had never faced a species that responded to attempted genocide with unified, burning rage. Every human who fell was immediately replaced by 2 more. Teenagers threw Molotov cocktails from fire escapes. Elderly veterans manned machine gun nests. Even children helped by running ammunition to defenders. In Tokyo, Kenji Yamamoto piloted one of the converted Boeing 747s toward a Krulorian cruiser hovering over the city. The passenger plane turned bomber was loaded with every explosive the Japanese could manufacture in 24 hours. It was a one-way mission, and every pilot in his squadron knew it. "For our children," Kenji whispered, thinking of his daughter Yuki, safe in an underground shelter. He pushed the throttles forward. The Krulorian cruiser's weapons turned toward the incoming aircraft, but the pilots had learned. They flew in erratic patterns, some planes deliberately drawing fire while others closed in. Kenji's 747 shuddered as energy beams clipped its wings, but he held course. The impact was tremendous. 40 tons of explosives detonated against the cruiser's weakened shields. The alien ship lurched, its anti-gravity systems failing. As it began to fall toward Tokyo Bay, more converted airliners slammed into it, each pilot trading their life for humanity's survival. Commander Zixa Theta watched the tactical displays with growing disbelief. The Krulorian Empire had conquered 100 worlds, but never had they faced resistance like this. The humans weren't just fighting, they were fighting with a fury that defied all logic. They threw themselves at Krulorian forces with suicidal determination, and worse, their sacrifices were effective. "Commander," one of the bridge officers reported, "we've lost 30% of our landing forces. The humans are using chemical weapons, biological agents, and nuclear devices at close range. They're killing themselves to kill us." "They're insane," Zix Theta snarled. "Order the fleet to begin orbital bombardment. We'll turn their cities to glass." But as the Krulorian ships moved into bombardment positions, they discovered another surprise. Earth's software engineers and hackers had been busy. The virus uploaded by the combined efforts of Earth's cyber warfare teams began to activate. It was crude by Krulorian standards, but it didn't need to be sophisticated. It just needed to work once. Across the Krulorian fleet, navigation systems glitched. Weapons targeting arrays reset randomly. Communication systems filled with static that resolved into the Altarian anthem, sung by billions of human voices. "They're in our systems," a Krulorian tech officer reported in panic. "The primitives are in our systems." In Stockholm, Emma Lindqvist smiled as her code executed across alien networks. "Not so primitive now, are we?" she muttered, launching another wave of attacks. The battle reached a crescendo as humanity unleashed weapons it had hoped never to use. Biological agents designed during the darkest days of the Cold War were deployed against Krulorian ground forces. Chemical weapons that could eat through any known material proved effective against alien armor. Nuclear mines detonated beneath landing sites, turning them into radioactive craters. Dr. Priya Sharma's team had made another breakthrough. The quantum entanglement used for Krulorian communications worked both ways. If they could broadcast to Earth, Earth could broadcast to them, and humanity had a message to send. "Initiate the feedback pulse," Priya commanded. Using every radio telescope, every satellite dish, every transmitter on Earth, humanity sent a synchronized pulse back through the quantum entanglement. It wasn't a weapon. It was worse. It was every image from the Altarian genocide, played in reverse. It was the sight of children dying, sent directly into every Krulorian mind simultaneously. It was the horror they had inflicted, reflected back at them a billionfold. Krulorian soldiers across the planet suddenly screamed, clutching at their heads. The psychic feedback of their own atrocity, amplified by human fury and transmitted directly into their consciousness, was overwhelming. Ships in orbit wavered as their pilots lost focus. Ground forces stopped advancing as soldiers collapsed. "Now!" General Thompson roared. "All forces, general advance! Drive them back!" Humanity surged forward. In every city, on every battlefield, humans pressed their advantage. The fury that had been building for 24 hours erupted in full force. Soldiers charged Krulorian positions. Civilians overwhelmed disoriented aliens with farming equipment and construction tools. The skies filled with every aircraft humanity could fly, all converging on the faltering alien forces. In Moscow, President Volkov gave the order he had been holding back. "Launch the orbital denial weapons." Hidden satellites revealed themselves, each one a nuclear weapon wrapped in ball bearings. They detonated in sequence, creating a cloud of hypersonic shrapnel that swept through orbital space. Krulorian ships, their shields already weakened and their crews disoriented, were shredded by millions of metal fragments moving at orbital velocities. Commander Zixa Theta tried to rally its forces, but the situation was spiraling out of control. The primitive humans had somehow turned the tide. They had taken the Krulorians' greatest psychological weapon, the broadcast of genocide, and turned it into a weapon against them. They had sacrificed millions of their own to save billions. They had fought with a fury that made even hardened Krulorian warriors hesitate. "Commander," the communications officer spoke with fear in its voice, "we're receiving transmissions from the Empire. Other conquered worlds are rising up. They've seen what the humans have done. They're fighting back everywhere." The implications hit Zix Theta like a physical blow. By broadcasting the Altarian genocide, by showing the galaxy what happened to those who resisted, they had intended to cow everyone into submission. Instead, humanity's successful resistance was inspiring others. The Empire was facing rebellions on 100 worlds. "Retreat," Zixa Theta ordered, the word bitter in its mouth. "All forces, retreat to the fleet. We'll regroup beyond the solar system and—" "Commander, the Alliance ships are moving. They're blocking our retreat vectors." On the screen, the crystalline being appeared again. You showed the galaxy how you treat those who resist, Krulorian. Now the galaxy has seen how humans respond to tyranny. Your empire ends here." The Alliance ships didn't attack directly. They had promised only to ensure a fair fight, but they didn't need to attack. They simply held position, preventing the Krulorian fleet from easily escaping while humanity continued its relentless assault. In the end, it took 18 hours. 18 hours of continuous combat, of humans throwing everything they had at the invaders. The last Krulorian ship tried to flee Earth's atmosphere, but was brought down by a coordinated strike from every remaining nuclear weapon in humanity's arsenal. It crashed in the Sahara Desert, its wreckage forming a new mountain range. Commander Zixatheta survived the crash. As human forces surrounded the wreckage, the alien commander emerged, wounded but defiant. General Thompson himself was there for the surrender, standing with soldiers from a dozen nations. "You were primitives," Zixatheta gasped, green blood flowing from its wounds. "How did you defeat the Empire?" Thompson looked at the creature that had ordered the deaths of billions. "You showed us what would happen if we lost. You united us in fury. You gave us 24 hours to prepare, and in those hours, every human became a soldier, every resource became a weapon. Every life became expendable for the survival of our species." He paused, then added, "You thought fear would make us submit. Instead, it made us fight like we've never fought before. You created your own defeat." As Zixatheta was taken into custody, humanity would need information about the collapsing Krulorian Empire. The skies began to clear. The aurora borealis, supercharged by the nuclear explosions, painted the sky in brilliant colors. It was beautiful and terrible, a reminder of the price of victory. Sarah Chen found her daughter in the shelter where she had left her. Yuki ran into her arms, and Sarah held her tight. Around them, other families reunited. Tears of joy mixing with tears of grief for those lost. "Are the monsters gone, Mommy?" Yuki asked. "Yes, baby. They're gone, and they're never coming back." The final casualty count was staggering. 800 million humans dead, entire cities destroyed, radiation that would take decades to clean up. But humanity had survived. More than that, they had sent a message to the galaxy. In the weeks that followed, as the Alliance of Free Worlds helped humanity reverse-engineer Krulorian technology, as the Krulorian Empire collapsed under rebellions on every conquered world, as Earth began to rebuild, one truth became clear. The Krulorians had made a fatal error. They had shown humanity its extinction, broadcast it across the planet, and given them 24 hours to accept it. They had expected fear to create submission. Instead, they had awakened something primal in the human spirit. They had triggered not fear, but fury. The cold, calculating fury of a species that looked extinction in the eye and said no. The memorial built where the final battle was fought bore a simple inscription. "They showed us our end. We showed them theirs. Humanity endures." Among the stars, the story spread. How a primitive world had faced the Krulorian Empire at its height and broken it. How 7 billion beings had unified in a single day to face annihilation. How humanity had looked upon genocide and responded with total fury. And throughout the galaxy, tyrants learned to fear a small blue world and its inhabitants who had proven a fundamental truth. You can kill humans. You can destroy their cities. You can broadcast their deaths across the stars. But you cannot break their spirit. And if you try to exterminate them, if you push them to the very brink, they will show you why they survived every challenge their world threw at them. They will show you fury the likes of which the universe has never seen. The age of human expansion had begun. The galaxy would never be the same.